Chapter 12, Unity and Brotherhood. Wherever there is African blood, there is a basis for greater African unity. The example of the developed countries amply proves the truth of the proverb, unity is strength. Our greatest asset is our unity, and we must exploit it to the fullest. People of a country who have fought incessantly for their independence understand that unity is the foundation of liberty. The joining together in a unified effort to overcome the perils of nature and the dangers which beset man on all sides is the very basis of society and the way in which humanity, since the dawn of history, has assured its survival. We must remember that many states that today represent the major powers of the world were once weak, were once prey to other major forces. But however, through the process of assimilation, through the process of realization of fundamental national interests, and through the process of combining that they have achieved, they have become the major powers. When a solid foundation is laid, if the mason is able and his materials good, a strong house can be built. Africa must speak with one voice ringing out in powerful, harmonious tones. We are determined to create a union of Africans. In a very real sense, our continent is unmade. It still awaits creation and its creators. It is our duty and privilege to rouse the slumbering giant of Africa, not to the nationalism of Europe of the 19th century, not to regional consciousness, but bending its united efforts toward the achievement of a greater and nobler goal. Because the African people are dedicated to the cause of the maintenance of peace, because the African people are determined that there should be that material progress for their people, and because the African people believe in the essential precepts of democracy, these are the foundations of the organization of African unity. The fact that we succeeded in laying the foundation of our unity was due primarily to the desire of all Africans to unite in a common struggle against colonialism, poverty, disease, and ignorance, which are enemies of Africa. The nations of the world are today interdependent in such a way that the suffering or privation of anyone is in greater or lesser measure a stricture on all others. 10 years ago, when Mussolini's Italy attacked our empire, the masses of the world, even we would hazard most individual members of the League of Nations, were in the fullest sympathy with us. In the end, delay, discussions, and considerations of the world prevailed. Help did not come. We can appreciate that true idealism may have lain behind those policies, now indeed regretted by the world, and now admitted as disastrous, of peace at any price and of appeasement. We pray that unity and that the strength behind the unity, which failed before, will never lack again among the councils of the world. In our age, man has replaced his individualistic attitude by a larger cause, namely, the good of society. Men have started to think in terms of their fellow men, their country, and the world community. All must strive unceasingly to further these simple and yet fundamental principles and ideals so that there shall be a better tomorrow for generations to come. Each of us depends on the other, can learn from the other, and in pursuing his own destiny, will go further and succeed more quickly with others. Influences abound which will not hesitate to divide us, to pit us one against the other, and to stir up disharmony and suspicion where only brotherhood and confidence should be found. We have seen in the Congo the tragic consequences which follow when, within the confines of a single state, men who have been deprived of the concept of nation, whose horizons have been limited to the confines of their family relationships, are stirred up one against the other. Is Africa really fragmented, and has independence been achieved on this great continent only to see the African nations themselves transform differences into divisions? And are such divisions as already exist, imposed on us by history and circumstance, to be widened and deepened by our own efforts? Countries where the people and the entire country have lost unity, spiritual or otherwise, have become playgrounds and laughing stocks of outsiders. Nobody knows better than we Africans that the policy of divide and rule is the aspiration of those who seek to benefit at others' expense. An age-old technique which we may expect to encounter again and again in our struggle to attain independence in fact as well as in name, is summed up in the maxim divide and conquer. The best chance for one country to attack another comes through noting the divisions of its people within. It is a sound tactic. A nation cannot prosper unless it has overcome the problems of communication. Without communication, agriculture cannot develop, nor can commerce or industry thrive. It is communication that relates and binds people together by ties of friendship. If we act where we may in those areas where action is possible, the inner logic of the programs which we adopt will work for us and inevitably impel us still farther in the direction of ultimate union. For a man to remain isolated and separated from his neighbors, and to have no access to the sources of knowledge and education, is to remain prey to the ills and plague which afflict mankind in its primitive state. Do not fall into the narrowness which looks only to the borders of your nation. We must move ahead in concert with all mankind. Concerted action, cooperation, coordinated policies are not just words but great and noble conceptions. In them, and in what they stand for, can be found the key to fulfillment of the longings and the hopes of millions of Africans. Unity should be the cornerstone of relations among African states, for it would ensure confidence and cooperation. Disunity, on the other hand, while dissipating their strength, always ends in regrettable results. Our greatest weapon is the oneness which we share as Africans. Strength can be achieved through unity, and success is the fruit of cooperation. Unity gives strength and assures success. No nation can divide within itself and remain powerful. Woe unto those countries which weaken themselves by dismemberment. We have no problem which is insurmountable. Let us work in unity and diligence. I have seen the progress of the people, and I have seen their determination to march forward in unity towards greater progress. The tide which is sweeping Africa today cannot be stayed. No power on earth is great enough to halt or to reverse the trend. Its march is as relentless and inexorable as the passage of time. In the history of the human race, those periods which later appeared as great have been the periods when the men and the women belonging to them had transcended the differences that divided them, and had recognized in their membership to the human race a common bond. Sympathy and that spirit of brotherhood, which constitutes a common bond among all Africans, has carried Africa forward in triumph on the crest of the wave in pursuit of the ideal of African unity. And it remains unflagging today as we prepare for yet more vigorous efforts in the battle to win through to this cherished objective. There are those who claim that African unity is impossible, that the forces that pull us, some in this direction, others in that, are too strong to be overcome. Around us there is no lack of doubt and pessimism, no absence of critics and criticism. These speak of Africa, of Africa's future, and of her position in the 20th century in sepulchral tones. They predict dissension and disintegration among Africans and internecine strife and chaos on our continent. Let us confound these and, by our deeds, disperse them in confusion. There are others whose hopes for Africa are bright, who stand with faces upturned in wonder and awe at the creation of a new and happier life, who have dedicated themselves to its realization and are spurred on by the example of their brothers, to whom they owe the achievements of Africa's past. Let us reward their trust and merit their approval. We encountered a sense of purpose, of dedication, of vision, which, we are persuaded, found its genesis in the common acceptance of the ideal of African unity, in the common response to the unique challenge which modern Africa presents to each of us, in the common crusade in which we are all enlisted. It is this spirit which will sweep us forward to final, conclusive, glorious victory in the struggle to overcome the obstacles which still remain before us in the making of a united Africa. It is in this, we believe, that the real triumph of Africa lies today. So long as the spirit of Africa prevails and stirs within us, so long as we continue to think and work and act within the African context which we have created, imbued by the African atmosphere which surrounds and pervades us, we are confident that the goals we seek shall be attained. We have created this spirit. It is our child. As Ethiopia is one, all Ethiopians are also one, and education is the only way to maintain this condition. Leave aside all misguided aims and groundless ambitions that can only lead us into wasteful and time-consuming conflicts. Let us instead mobilize our resources for our common good and for the good of our great continent. This is the heartfelt desire of African peoples everywhere, and it is the duty of us all always to hear this in mind and to bear this in mind and to strive for its full and final achievement. To meet together, to take counsel with one another, and to act in mutual cooperation has proved a most fruitful method both in the secular and spiritual fields. Henceforth, the way is open for you to follow this fruitful path. We shall find new ways to strengthen the links which already join our peoples, and to advance arm in arm towards the happy future, which is our hope not only for our own people, but for all the world. Africa and African unity are more than mere words. As Solomon says, physical distance cannot be a barrier to love. For the first time, Africa has learned what strength there is in unity. The distances among your respective countries have been abolished by the proximity of your hearts.